Football, a game watched by over 55 million people in the UK. The beautiful game, but who keeps it in check?
Married, my friend.
This is the story, both past and present, of policing football, with exclusive access across police forces and football hooligans in the United Kingdom.
And I've seen an awful lot of heavy-handed policing, an overreaction.
Involved in bricks and stuff, and all my thing was split open there to have all the brick pulled out, made and stitched back together.
I've been stabbed, I've been slashed.
Welcome to Policing, Britain's most loved game. Last-minute goals, the adrenaline rush, and that special feeling as you walk in a stadium.
The most remarkable!
But off the pitch, policing it can be one challenging thing, and especially back in the days of old-school hooliganism.
Worst nights of violence in British football. The Prime Minister is demanding action.
And I think the most important thing to do is to get hooligans.
In the 1970s and 80s, violence on the terraces became common. The rise of hooligan firms led to a heavy-handed response. We've started our journey today in Nottingham to meet Gary Clarke, otherwise known as Boatsy, who founded and led the Nottingham Forest executive crew firm.
But I like the fashion and the music that went with it, and then you sort of noticing the trouble as a kid, and the different clubs had different ways of dressing, and I just got hooked by the fashion really. And then one night I was out in Nottingham and bumped into all the old Forest boys, and bumped into them every week actually. They sort of, because I was a big lad, you know, and I could handle myself, I think they sort of dragged me on board. Man United away in the cup quarter final, we got locked out of the ground, about 30 of us, must have been 2,000 Manx. They picked me up, tried to ram my head through the bloody ticket office window. The ticket, it was a bit of a dip then, the ticket office was there, trying to ram my head through the window. So I've been stabbed, I've been slashed, you know, it's just part of the parcel of the game. If you're up for it, you're up for it.
What were the police like back then?
It was a game of cat and mouse with the police. That was half the game. You know, you always trying to outwit the police. You know, there's no mobiles in them days, and there was no cameras.
Well, Gary lived through the highs and the lows of football hooliganism and the intense culture that surrounded it. But as the game began to change, so did the law. In the late 90s and early 2000s, football banning orders started to arrive.
2001, we used to follow England away a lot, and there was a Derby police officer who used to follow us around at England games, and my mate went for him. I got the blame for it actually in Greece. I got done at an England game against Turkey in Sunderland, and I got sent to prison then. That was 2004.
Back on the road then, and back to Manchester, Bury to be precise this time. Welcome to Carl Moran's gym. Carl was part of the Blazing Squad, one of Manchester City and Britain's most notorious football hooligan groups. He was also one of the first people to receive a banning order, like Gary.
So because they couldn't get us on that big prison time, they threw these little shitty silver banning orders at about fucking 40 of us. And that was one of them. I was on a temporary ban for 6 months or 8 months. Then they put us on a proper one for 3 years, so they just under about 4 seasons there on it. So it weren't for anything specific, it was an accumulation of things. They couldn't get us on something proper to give us these little shitty bans in court sort of thing. I've had the bans, the suspended sentences, all that's been actual prison time now.
Carl, what was the time when you were scared going into a fight? And
it was fucking West Ham one time, but it was fucking 6 hours all the way down to East London. I met him in a place called Barking, had it with him, smashed West Ham, got back on the thing, bump away. That was all before the game even started.
So you didn't even watch the game?
No, I was in London about 35 minutes.
Just for the fight?
Yeah, 6 hours down there, 35 minutes, boom, 6 hours back. Done. So it weren't about the football for us, no.
Next time, we speak to Mark Robets, Head of Football Policing, and will be granted access all areas at Chesterfield versus Derby County.
Business good?